Hey everybody, Jeff Miller, head of GMAT instruction and target test prep. Today I want to talk about the similarities and differences between the online GMAT and the in-person GMAT focus. A lot of students ask about the differences, whether I should take it at home, whether I should take it at the test center. So let's dive into that right now. Let's just talk about some basic similarities between the two exams, whether you're doing it online or in the test center. And pretty much everything about the exam itself is the same. You're taking the same sections, quant, verbal, data insights. You are registering it for the same way. The online exam, yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but more or less you're paying pretty much the same amount to take either test. So all of the sections are the same, the scoring is the same, the breaks are the same, and you can even do section order on both exams. That's the same. So we're talking about the nuts and bolts of the online GMAT focus versus the in-person GMAT focus. Not a lot is changing, so you don't have to worry about anything major like that. All right, the first difference is you gotta worry about quote unquote system requirements for the online GMAT, and you don't at the test center. You might be wondering why. Well, the reason why is because GMAT at the test center provides you, or Pearson at the test center provides you with everything you need to take the test. All you have to do is show up, sign in with the proctor, sit down, and take the test. They supply the computer and the equipment and even the whiteboard, which we'll talk about shortly, so you don't have to worry about system requirements. Now, for the online GMAT, there are requirements for your computer. You can double check that. There's ways to run diagnostics to make sure that your computer works as it should. Do that before, obviously, test day. If you have specific questions about this, always ask the folks at GMAT because they're the ones who can give you the most definitive answer. But remember, if you're taking the online GMAT, that is something to consider, that you'll have to pass the system requirements on your computer or laptop to make sure it's set for when you want to take the test. Second difference, the whiteboard. Okay, so many of you might not know this, but back when the online GMAT first came out during COVID, they didn't allow students to use a physical whiteboard. You actually had to use an online whiteboard, which was actually quite tedious. It's still an option for the test. You still can use it if you want, but now, and for a while now, you can use your own whiteboard. Now, it's supposed to be 12 by 20 at the biggest, but I think students have used some that are smaller, a little bit bigger. I don't think that's necessarily the biggest deal in the world. Again, you can always confirm it with GMAT. But you do have to purchase your own whiteboard and your own markers. Now, what does that mean? And we'll talk about what you use at the test center in a moment. But what it means is if you just have a whiteboard, that's just a board. So what does that mean? After every question or two, you're going to have to erase it, and then you're going to wipe it clean and reuse it. At the test center, what do you have? Well, you have a dry erase notebook. If you haven't seen any, Google it, look on Amazon. You'll see it's the spiral-bound notebook in legal size pages that you can flip over, and they're double-sided. Why is that nice? Well, that's nice because you have a bunch of sheets. You usually won't run out. It gets cleared during every section, and the test center also provides the markers for you. So that's a major difference. At home, you're using your own whiteboard, your own markers. The upside there is you know your markers are going to work. You can practice with your whiteboard throughout your test prep. The upside of the test center is it has more sheets than you would have at home with just your whiteboard. You don't have to wipe it clean. You just flip the page over when you're done with it. But those are the two major differences regarding the whiteboard and your writing utensils for the online and the in-person GMAT focus. A third difference, and this probably isn't shocking to anyone, testing environment. Well, of course the testing environment's different unless GMAT is running a test center in downstairs of your house. I doubt they actually are. So what's different? Well, in the online GMAT, where are you? You're most likely in your bedroom, in your office, meaning your home office, or some sort of secluded location in your house or apartment. In the test center, it's a predetermined location with a bunch of desks and different students there taking the exams. So it's a little bit of a different feeling. I know some people show up at the test center and they're a little bit nervous by how things are. There's a little bit of unpredictability to the environment because look, what if the person next to you has a cold and is sneezing and coughing while they're taking their test? Or what if you just get distracted by the clapping of the keyboard while people are typing during their exam. There's different things at the test center that you can't control. The nice thing about the online GMAT is concerning your environment is you can control it and you're used to it, right? So you can tell everyone in the house, hey, I don't want you here during the window when I'm taking my test. It can be quiet for you, and it could be in an environment that you've been prepping in or taking practice exams in leading up to test day. Another kind of cool thing about the online GMAT regarding your environment is you can actually have a glass of water on your desk with clear glass, so the proctor can obviously see what's in there. And you can't do that at the test center. At the test center, you can put water in your bag, you can get a drink during a break, but you cannot bring it into the testing area. So that's another difference between the environment at home and the test center. So those are the two major differences. The environment is you're basically home in your own space, in your own area that's been set up and crafted by you for your exam. And of course, at the in-person test center, you're in GMAT or Pearson space where they have set up things for the GMAT. A fourth difference, of course, is the situation with the proctors. Now, there are proctors for both exams. However, when you're taking the online GMAT focus, there's a remote proctor. So what does that mean? It means the proctor isn't coming over to your house, sitting in a chair, reading a paper, and watching you take the test. What's happening is you're connected to the proctor remotely. They're looking at you while you're taking the exam. And unfortunately, because of the strict rules of taking the online GMAT, there are times where they'll tell you to, look at the monitor or maybe have you scan the room, things like that, because they want to obviously prevent cheating. Now, in the test center, they're less concerned about people cheating because they're in the test center. And there is a proctor there. That proctor is overseeing things that are happening, but they're not just overseeing you, they're overseeing all the students. Now, the nice thing about having the in-person proctor is that you can tell that proctor things prior to a section. I remember once in my GMAT, I knew I was going to run out of room on my dry erase notebook in the quant section. So I told the proctor beforehand, get ready for me at some point to raise my hand. And at that point, I'll want a new, fresh, clean notebook. And I did, and he gave it to me. So I enjoyed that part of being in the in-person exam. But listen, with the online exam, yes, there's a proctor. Yes, they're looking at you. But for the most part, if everything goes smoothly, the proctor shouldn't be a distraction. And the nice thing is, if you have any questions before going for a break or saying that you want to leave the room, you can ask the proctor before you do so. A sixth difference is appointments and availability. So think about this. When you're taking the GMAT online, you can take it any time of day, morning or night. And there's not seats that you need to fill because look, you're at your home office, you're in your house, you're in your apartment, whatever. When it comes to the in-person GMAT, there is a limited availability because there's only so many seats that people have to sit in at the test center. So a nice thing about the GMAT online is that you could maybe a week before you want to take the GMAT, decide you want to take it, sign up and take it. For the in-person, there's a high likelihood, especially if it's busy season, that you might not be able to get that appointment just a week ahead of time. So a nice option for the GMAT Online is that there's essentially an unlimited number of seats to take and sign up for the GMAT. You can do it later. You don't have to sign up months in advance. Whereas with the test center, you probably want to sign up months, weeks in advance to ensure that you get a spot at the test center. Now, if you're trying to go for the test center and it doesn't work because there's no availability, that could mean, hey, give the online version a shot, take it there. If it doesn't work out, you can always take it at a test center at a later date. Finally, I want to talk about two things that were once differences between the online and in-person GMAT that no longer are. Now, in the past, the classic GMAT, in the in-person version, you could cancel your score after taking the test. With the online version, you couldn't, although with the online version, you did have the option of which scores to send because it was a separate score report. But everything has changed with GMAT Focus for in-person and online. What's changed? You can now choose the score you want to send, whether it's the in-person test, whether it is the online test. You have the option. Not all scores have to be sent. And as I've said previously in other videos, you actually can see your score before deciding when to send. So as far as that goes, sending out your scores or not, how to send them, when to send them, what to send, it's all the same between the in-person and the online GMAT. One other thing, in the past, you couldn't see your ESR for the online test and you could for the in-person test. But now with GMAT Focus, the score report that you get is very detailed and ESR-like, and you get that for both the in-person and the online exam. So it's not as if you're going to get a better score report for taking in-person versus online. So those are two things that back in the days of the classic GMAT were differences that are now similarities between the two exams, and two less things, quite frankly, you have to think about when deciding between each one to take. All right, everybody, I had a blast talking about the differences between the online GMAT focus and the in-person GMAT focus. I truly hope you found this helpful, and this can aid in the decision process of which one to take. And as I always tell students, look, you can take either one. You could take both. If you want to start with online and move to the test center or vice versa, do it. But all in all, either one you take should be fine as long as you prepare well and do your thing. You should be great on test day. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel, leave comments with questions, leave comments with videos you want to see in the future, and reach out to us if you need anything. I appreciate you guys watching, and we will talk soon.